I know this is a deeply principled and smart crowd, or he wouldn't have turned out in such numbers for Eric Griego. And I know that Eric Griego, if I didn't already know it, I know it now, tonight, is a person who is deeply principled and smart, or Jim Hightower wouldn't be here to support it. You know, the press every now and then takes some sort of right-wing demagogue who's an againer and calls him a populist. That's not a populist. That's the kind of Southern politician we used to see, and we still see quite a bit, who gets elected by running against the interests, and then once they get in office, they throw in with the interests, and they get re-elected by running against African Americans and against Washington. Well, Jim Hightower is a different kind of populist. He's a real populist. He believes in a fairer distribution of wealth and income and power. And that's what populism means, and Jim Hightower was writing and talking and agitating in that direction long before we began to see, as we're seeing now, the Occupy movement calling attention again. Jim Hightower, first of all, is a friend. He is a friend for life, and he'll be a friend when you need a friend. That's always been true in my relationship with him. And he's a great populist and a great fighter.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight, you fellow Democrats and Griegoistas. Thank you for allowing a scruffy Texas populist like me to come across the border without even being dipped at the border. I thank you for that. And to come here to this great organic farm, this palace of populism, it's a joy to be here. They really do a terrific job here. I've been studying up on them, and I'm a big supporter of the organic. But it's fitting that we be here, really, not only because they support Eric, but also because we got a candidate who is organic, who is local, who is sustainable, who is politically nutritious. So it just makes me happier than a flea at a dog show, you know, be standing up here, looking out at all of you tremendous supporters of this People's Democrat, this corporate greed whacker, this Republican butt kicker that we've got running for the Congress. You know, Ken Hubbard, he was a humorist at the turn of the last century, sort of a precursor to Will Rogers, actually. And Ken Hubbard once said, every now and then an innocent man gets sent to the legislature. And that's what I think we've got with Eric here. Not innocent in the ways of the world, but innocent in terms of conniving with the corporate powers. Innocent in the way of taking money and selling out the people. And that's, you know, I come to you not merely from Austin, Texas, where I live, but from South Austin, Texas. We have a little different attitude across the river. Over there, our unofficial slogan is, we're all here because we're not all there. And I think that's why we're here tonight, isn't it? We're here because the powers that be are not all there. They're nowhere near those American values that Eric was talking about so eloquently there. Those values of economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. That's what America stands for. That's who we are as a people. That's who the powers that be are running roughshod over, and that's the importance of Eric coming into the Congress. But because the powers that be, they're as confused as goats on AstroTurf when it comes to understanding what it is to be an American today. That notion of the common good that he talked about is the core notion. And as Fred said, it was my old daddy, said everybody does better when everybody does better. The American people believe in that. And we've got to have people who stand up for that and fight for that. And that's what we've got here. Meanwhile, we got Wall Street whizzing. You know, they tell us Wall Street's booming again, right? We're at 13,000. Wall Street's whizzing on you and me. They think they're the top dogs and we're just a bunch of fire hydrants. You know? Wall Street doing that to us. We got the Republicans in the Congress controlling the House of Representatives these days. A bunch of howdy-doodies to corporate lobbyists. They've gone from Ronald Reagan's trickle-down economics to today's tinkle-down economics. People out of work, give the rich people a tax break, they said. Banks won't loan to small businesses. Give the rich people a tax break, they said. Poverty is on the rise. Give the rich people a tax break, they said. There's a flu outbreak in Alamogordo. Give the rich people a tax break. It reminds me that there's a singer-songwriter in Austin, Butch Hancock. Some of y'all might know him. Butch was on our radio show that Susan DeMarco and I had some years ago, and he was explaining how difficult it was to grow up in Lubbock, out there in that really hardcore, strict, right-wing Christian, don't touch, don't dance, don't do nothing. When your hormones were surging through your body, you're a teenage boy. And he said that they taught us that sex was just the nastiest, filthiest, dirtiest thing that there is on earth, and you should save it for someone you love. Well, that explains a lot about Lubbock, I think. But also about those Republicans. Then we've got this gaggle of goosey GOP governors, boneheads and cokeheads. You know, I thought that Rick Perry had to be just the goofiest of them all. I mean, there's a guy who really puts the goober in gubernatorial. And look at him. He's been there for 10 years. When he first started running for president, the national media came down. I said, no, pay attention to this guy. I said, he is not as stupid as he appears to be. He is much stupider than that. But wow, for the gooberest of all, I mean, your own Susana Martinez is a real contender. You're challenging. Moving on up. The anti-immigrant governor who... Grandpa was an immigrant.
Well, we're immigrants.
Well, no, she says he's an American. So that's the difference, you know. Our old friend Molly Ivins said, I think this applies to your governor, said of a state legislator some years ago, said if he gets one bit dumber, we're going to have to start watering him twice a week. But I understand that she is on the short list of vice presidential contenders for the Republican ticket this very year. Well, before you worry much about that, think about this. Look at the short list they have for president of the United States. Even say the words President Santorum, President Gingrich, poor Mitt Romney, who was once quasi-sane. Now, he has been forced over into a corner to declare openly, last week I believe it was, that he is severely conservative. You are severely ill, you're severely wounded, you're severely impaired, you might be severely twisted. Severely conservative. That's what politics has become. Savvy scrapper who will take on the powers that be on behalf of the powers that ought to be, the ordinary workaday people of this country. As he's proven again and again as a state senator, Eric didn't merely want a seat in Congress. I doubt that he would ever even sit down. He wants to put that office to work for working families, for clean air and water, for women's rights, for small farmers and businesses, for the LGBT community, for children, for democracy itself, taking on the money powers in our election. Supreme Court unleashed upon us. He will strategize, organize, mobilize to make other Democrats better, bolder, and braver than they're now being. And let's admit it, some of our Democrats in the Congress are weaker than Canadian hot sauce. Standing up for our folks. There's a saying out of the Texas Panhandle, which means it probably came from Mexico. Old cowboy saying says, "Speak the truth, but ride a fast horse." But from what I've seen of Griego, and I've watched him over the years, he'll not just speak truth to power, but he'll speak truth about power. And that's more important, because that's what rallies you and me, grassroots people, to take power. So, my message to you tonight, and I'm sure you're wondering what it is right now, is that New Mexico's 1st District has an extraordinarily important chance, pretty rare chance really, to do something big for all of America. Yes, this is your race, this is your congressional seat, but it's also a national race. This is a big time in America. The powers that be have chosen to run regressive, roughshod over the ordinary people in our country. That's what makes this congressional race more important than ordinary. Eric Griego has the guts and the gumption to increase the political punch of progressives in Congress. Imagine a leader who leads. It's been a while. Thanks to your great work, Democrats have won and can continue to win District 1. So I'm here simply to ask you, why not send your best? Send the best that you have to Congress, because that will change the Congress itself. I've been doing a lot of work with the Progressive Caucus up there, and Eric mentioned that he's been endorsed by Raul Grijalva over here in Tucson, and Keith Elliott, the first Muslim in the Congress from Minneapolis. They have a mission. They want to connect the outside to the inside. They want to move Congress by going outside of Congress. That's what Eric represents. He will not only be another one of those, he will add to the energy of that. He will add to the dynamic of that, so they will move like lightning through the Congress. And as I say, he will embolden other Democrats to be braver. And that's really what it gets down to, braver than they otherwise would be. I was last night in Austin with Bernie Sanders, our friend from... I was with Bernie when he was first running for the U.S. Senate 6 years ago, because he's up this time. And a guy came up after our little political tete-a-tete there in Montpelier, their capital. And he was wearing a political button, big old button. It was the best one I've ever seen. It said, "Wearing a button is not enough." You have a chance to do something big right here in this 1st District and Albuquerque area. You have a chance to make a difference for America itself. Yeah, he would be your congressperson, but he would be our congressperson too, just as Bernie Sanders is our senator, right? No matter where you live. So get behind this. I know you're behind it, but I mean, more than wearing that button, more than putting up a sign or a bumper sticker. Get behind it in a big way. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to people in church. Talk to people at the workplace. Talk to people at the post office. Talk to people in the grocery line. Get in their face. Tell them we got a chance. I mean, here's somebody who's actually going to fight for health care for everyone. Here's a person who's going to stand up for working people. We're going to do something. I'll leave you with this. It's from Louis Grizzard, the late great Southern humorist, who once said something that we in the South have always known to be true, and that is that there's a great big difference between being naked and being naked. Being naked means you've got no clothes on. But being naked, that means you've got no clothes on and you are up to something. We got to get naked for Eric Griego for Congress. Thank you. Thank you. Good.